They really think that people are gonna buy this. So Borderlands as a franchise, I have said time and time again, is on a severe decline as well. The movie flopped. Borderlands 3 to many fans. I have not played Borderlands 3, but to many fans, Borderlands 3 was a huge letdown in the franchise as well. And Borderlands 4, I have very little faith this is gonna be a good game. I know Borderlands 2. A lot of people love that game. To this day, it's still considered one of the greatest FPS games of all time. But you'd think a sequel to one of the greatest FPS games of all time, would be amazing. As well. You'd think that they would continue to make what works as well. Gearbox, and no, we're not talking about games like Halo 4. Well, they have different developers, so they're gonna change it regardless. But Borderlands 3, they could have easily made Borderlands 3 its own standalone thing. I think the problem with Borderlands 3 and the pre-sequel is that these games are just not as great as 2. There is no way they will be, but now they have confirmed the price of Borderlands 4 being $70. Hey, at least it isn't $80, as well. Which makes Mario Kart World the only game to be $80 at this going. Actually, the Outer Wilds too, I think, is $80 too, but I don't think anyone's gonna buy that game. The first game wasn't too great, but the collector's bundle, this is what we're talking about here, does not include the actual game itself. Then what the hell are you paying for? The figure? A map? Because there's no game. So you're paying $140 for a fucking thing, and the game's not a part of here. What kind of collector's edition doesn't even include a game, not even digital copy? What kind of bullshit is that? Yeah. But yeah, Gearbox is really, this is a franchise that used to be beloved, used to be loved. Okay, the movie flopped, Borderlands 3, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands flopped. Borderlands 3, did well, but a lot of people hated Borderlands 3, which doesn't bode well for Borderlands 4, because if a lot of people hated the third game, half of the people who actually liked the game are going to buy it, and half the people who hated the game, unless they really are gonna waste the money, unless they are unless they're the people who have to get like review copies or do it because they have to do it on YouTube. But a lot of the fans who are unhappy with Borderlands 3, the movie, and of course Tiny Tina Wonderlands, they're not gonna be buying Borderlands 4. I don't think Borderlands 4 is gonna be very popular. It's not gonna sell very well, and I just don't think this game's gonna sell very well. I just don't think people care enough about an IP that Gearbox has ruined, Gearbox has destroyed, and it's the same situation as Halo. Okay, but at least Halo, well, you have, before Halo 4, you have tons of quality games released before then. So you have the first 3 Halo games, you have Halo Wars, Halo ODST, you have, Halo Elites as well, okay? You have tons of high quality games, and some people did actually like Halo 4, but a lot of people really didn't like Halo 4. It was a very divisive game as well, and the Halo game series ever since then has been on a constant decline as well. The TV show was bad, okay, what I heard. I haven't watched the TV show, but, the Halo 5 was bad. Halo Infinite was okay, but it's nowhere near as quality as all of the Bungie games, okay? Halo Infinite was still okay, but if you compare it to the Bungie games are still way better as well. Again, Halo Infinite actually had pretty good gameplay, but the story and is not as great as Bungie's stories were okay. Like those are things that what game has great graphics, great story, and great gameplay. Okay. Well, you can look at the Bungie trilogy. I know, the original games, if you compare them to like any modern games, of course they work like that. But for the time they came out, Halo 2, Halo 1, Halo 1 was a groundbreaking game graphic wise, okay, as well. Yes, the game may not look good compared to, let's just say, the newest Call of Duty, okay, but for a game that released in 2001, Halo 1's graphics were very amazing, okay, Same thing with Halo 2. Halo 2 has amazing graphics, okay? That still hold up to today, especially Halo 3 and Halo Reach, okay? Though despite games looking better, Halo Reach and Halo 3 are definitely games, even though they were released before, before the on the 360 era as well. Those games still look much better than look just as great as many newer games as well. And those games, yes, they do look, compared to GTA 6, obviously, they look worse, but they still look better than a lot of modern games. Like Dragon Age Survivor God. Compare that to Halo 3. Halo 3 looks better than Dragon Age Survivor God, okay? Halo 3 looks better than Stellar Blade, okay? As well. And a lot of the 360 and PS3 era games, I know this, people can say it's because you always say this because of nostalgia or blah blah. But a lot of the 360 and PS3 era games and also Wii era as well games, a lot of these games are kind of like timeless classics. You have Halo 3, you have Halo 2, Halo 1, and also the GameCube, PS2, and as well, and Xbox era. A lot of these games from the 2000s are considered timeless games. Like, they aged very, very well, okay? A lot of these games from, like, the 2000s or even early 2010s, the end of the very fast years, a lot of these games are timeless. Like, Follow the Door, it may not look as pretty as Origami King, but the game is still, people go back to that game. And people love that game so much, and Nintendo remade that game for the Switch in 2024, okay, as well, okay. And I think you really can see what the timelessness of a lot of these older games, okay. A lot of these older games just hold up, and I know I'm just sounding like an old man at this point, but a lot of these older games like BioShock, Super Mario Galaxy, Halo 3, and of course a lot of the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 games, as well. A lot of these games hold up incredibly well, okay. No one complains about those games because those games hold up incredibly well, especially like the first Halo. The first Halo game still looks amazing, okay? Yes, if you compare it to, what's to say, the newest Call of Duty or GTA 6, Halo 1, but you gotta realize Halo 1 released in 2001 when 3D games were just starting, okay, as well. So Halo 1 is one of the most technically impressive games of all time because it was for a new console that has just entered the market. So, of course, Halo 1, usually launch games for a console are usually never going to be the most technically impressive games. That's just how it is, okay? If you compare Mario Kart World's graphics, okay, yes, Mario Kart World is not going to have the most impressive graphics for the Switch 2, okay? Because guess what? It's the Switch 2's first game, okay? Switch 2's more impressive games are going to come 2, 3, 4 years out the line, kind of like the original Xbox and GameCube. The first couple of games of the GameCube were never really the most technically impressive games for that console. So, because developers haven't had time to really realize that console specs as well, which is why Mario Kart World may not look the most technically impressive game, as well. And also Nintendo, puts gameplay over graphics, okay? This is what Nintendo has always done. Graphics have never been the most important issue to Nintendo, okay? As well. And I really think we need to go back to the era. Like, for example, a lot of old games from the 2000s, yes, they don't look as great as, let's just say, the newest Call of Duty or GTA 6, but these games are it's kind of like the 90s and 80s for movies, okay? 80s and 90s for movies, for a lot of people, a lot of timeless classics came from the 80s and 90s, okay? And even 2000s, you can say. Same thing of music as well. A lot of timeless music is from the 80s and 90s. And, especially from the 80s and 70s, and some people can say 60s, but most people don't. But 80s, like, everyone knows 80s music. 80s music, even young people still would consume 80s music. And I think it's the same thing with video games. I would be surprised if there's a lot of younger people younger than me, who are playing these older games, because guess what? They're accessible on Steam. A lot of younger people have access to Steam or PC, or if they have an Xbox, they can play all these older games, okay, and experience what we experienced, okay, as well. And of course, if you have the Switch too, as well, guess what? Younger kids can now finally experience the GameCube era and then the Nintendo Switch Online for free, okay, basically, okay. And I would be surprised if a lot of people as well. But a lot of games of the 2000s, yes, they may not look as great as the newer games, but there's always a timelessness and charm when it comes to these older games. Okay, and yeah, tangent over, and yeah, now let's go back to Borderlands 4. Okay, and the decline of this entire franchise. Okay, this is a franchise, kind of like Star Wars, kind of like Halo, that used to be great, but they really destroyed this franchise. Okay, I remember every time I talk about how Transformers is, oh, Michael Bay ruined Transformers. Okay, as well. And yes, box office wise, Transformers movies will never make the billions of dollars they made. But the last couple of Transformers movies, Bumblebee, Transformers 1, and Rise of the Beasts, fans of the Transformers series love all those movies. Okay, as well. Yes, they sacrificed box office success, but they made the fans happy. Okay, they tried to fix the errors of the ways with the Michael Bay films. Okay, as well. But it was too little too late. I do think Transformers as a franchise has a future. Okay, I don't think Borderlands does. I don't think Star Wars has. Okay, and I don't think Halo does as a franchise. These franchises will run so far into the ground. It's going to be very hard to salvage Borderlands. Very hard to salvage Halo. Okay? It's very hard to salvage Star Wars. Okay? Most of the fans who grew up with these IPs are going to cherish the older products and older games, when the developers and movie companies actually cared. And there's one other franchise that is hurrying towards this, and that's the MCU. Okay? As well. And we'll make that a separate video about that one, and how Superman is completely humiliating Fantastic Four as well. But yep, that is it about this video here. Goodbye.